some of you may already know that Hal is the biggest contributor to Front Row Foundation, and since he had launched the Miracle Morning book, he donates a percentage of the profits back to the charity. Not only is he our #1 financial contributor, but he has personally escorted individuals on their events, taken them to it was a basketball game, I remember, with Chris Mosier, and he's stepped up for Front Row and given so much of himself all along the way. I remember, in fact, that when the Miracle Morning book was just taking off, I was at his house in Temecula and was in the bathroom getting ready for the day, and an envelope slides under the door. I was like, that's strange. Pick it up, and inside was a check for $5,000 from Hal. And it was the first sizable check that came in because of the success of his book. And since then, Hal and his community have been responsible for more than $300,000 being contributed to Front Row Foundation. So needless to say, when the opportunity arose, unfortunately you could say, that we would be able to create this event for him, we were able to take him to that UFC event. Giving feels good. I think contributing to the lives of others feels great. I think we all probably agree on that. I think that's born into us. I believe that as human beings, there's a part of ourselves that wants to contribute to the lives of other people, gives meaning and purpose to our existence. And I have a lot of people in my life to thank for being great examples, for leading the way when it comes to giving. I think about people like my dad. My dad, Jon Vroman, Navy captain, retired, one of the most compassionate, loving people that I have ever known. And I'll give you an example of that. So when I'm a teenager, it's Christmas, and I'm opening up this present, expecting something material, that's going to be in this box that I'm going to be able to play with and experience and is going to bring joy because it's for me and it's mine. And what I see is a letter. When I read that letter, it says, "Dear Jonathan, your mother and I decided that we are going to donate a flock of geese to a family, shown in the picture below, that will provide for that family food and nourishment for the next year. And so, in the spirit of Christmas and in the spirit of giving, we wanted to amplify that moment by sharing your gift with others." And my response to that? My initial response was, damn, I really wanted something for me. I didn't say that out loud, but I did feel a little bit of inside. There was a moment when I felt almost robbed of the gift I thought I should have been receiving. But what's awesome about that gift was that shortly after, and then for quite some time after, and until this moment at age 42, when I stand on the stage sharing that moment with you, that gift has only grown in value from the moment that I received it. I'm so happy that my dad decided that Christmas to give me that gift and not something else that I probably would have enjoyed for a moment and then forgotten about. But think about in your life what gifts that you've been given or that you've witnessed others giving away, contributing to the planet that to this day still holds like a place in your heart. It rests somewhere deep inside you. I think about people in my life that are awesome givers. I think about in this room right now, we all love and know Carrie's heart. And Carrie's been such a giver over the years. I've witnessed and watched Carrie step up. When we say in our organization, we say living life in the front row, that's a metaphor for showing up for others oftentimes. We, especially in the entrepreneurial space, talk a lot about getting in the game, right? There's a lot of talk about, I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to be in the game, on the field. Well, me too. That's not a bad example of how to live our lives. But I think that sometimes we underestimate the power of being in the front row. That doesn't make you a spectator. That makes you oftentimes one of the most important participants in the experience and in the moment. When we stand up, when we step up, and we show up for others, when we are in their front row of life, when we cheer them on, when we lift them up, we give one of the greatest gifts. So many times, our mission truly needs to be making somebody else the rock star and stepping into their front row and lifting them up. Kerry Smolenski is one of those people. He is somebody that constantly puts people on stage in life, literally and metaphorically, right? That's what he does. He puts people on stage and shines the light. And I think that's a beautiful way of giving a stage, giving the light, giving the platform, make somebody else the rock star. I think about people like John Kane in the back of the room there. John, the director of sales for Cutco, and a best friend to many. Recently I was talking with somebody and I made the comment that for any one of us, if we had 1, 2, 3 amazing friends in life, we would be fortunate. And John seems to make it look easy. He does make it look easy to have like hundreds of best friends. I actually don't know how he does it. I don't know how on earth the man, and by the way, I consider myself one of John's best friends. And I'm very close to John, and I witness his world. And I feel so grateful to be able to do that. But John's ability to give to others is the best example of creating, in some ways, social equity. Where oftentimes, when you are strong, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to show up for others, because chances are, for each one of us, in some unique way, life will throw us a curveball. That as we go through seasons in life, and some of you in this room are in your summer season, and it's just great. Seems like everything's clicking along. And sometimes we're in the winter season of life. And when we're in the winter season, sometimes we need a little support. We need to ask for some help. We need to lean on our friends. John is a great example of someone who has gone through adversity in his life. And I've seen in those moments where the social equity that he has created by the gifts that he's given for so long, that in a moment of darkness, in a moment where something is happening in his world, people show up and step up. John there's a lot of tears on this stage recently. Lost his dad recently. And, I watched how people they flew and they drove and they came from everywhere. And there was a full house of love for John and his family. Because he comes from a family of givers and people that show up. It's just a choice that we make. I think you had mentioned earlier about making a decision here, right? To start something new and a radical shift in our lives. There's certain moments in my world where I've gotten that giving matters. One of them was my dad talking about how much do we really need before we turn our attention to others, right? Like I get the oxygen mask analogy, trust me. And Hal and I have talked about the beautiful synergy between the Miracle Morning and Front Row Foundation, and that oftentimes the philosophy of the front row is to show up for others, to live life in the front row as a contribute to others. But the Miracle Morning is oftentimes about giving to ourselves first thing so that we have something to offer to others, right? The question that I often ask of my community and my friends is, how much do we really need, though, to pour into ourselves before we turn the attention to somebody else? Like, how much do we really need? How nice does your car have to be? How big does your house have to be? How much money do you really need to be secure in the bank accounts? How many experiences do you have to have? How many front row events do you need to go to before you help somebody else get their front row event? And I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that it's a question worth exploring for all of us, is how much do we need to take care of ourselves before we turn the attention to supporting someone else? You know, the law of proximity, being in the front row, is also a law of what we put ourselves close to. And oftentimes when we create distance between ourselves and humanity, when we create distance between ourselves and others in need, we don't feel where we need to make an impact. Oftentimes when somebody travels to a third world country, we can see it on TV and we can hear about it, but when we arrive there, when we actually meet someone who is starving and can't find clean water and doesn't have safety and the basic human needs, we feel compelled to step up. Oftentimes, contribution is about removing ourselves from our place of comfort and putting ourselves into proximity of people who need our support. That's a tough place to be. You know, people have said to me over the years, they say, Jon, I don't know how you do it with Front Row Foundation. You work with people constantly who are fighting for their lives. You know, this is the same situation that doctors face oftentimes when their daily practice is showing up to work where people are sick and in need, and that's tough and it takes a toll. And yes, you know, sometimes we just want to say, you know what? I can't deal with that. I just have to go focus on the joy that I can experience in my life. And there's nothing wrong with taking moments to do that, but sometimes we need to turn towards those individuals, those opportunities in life to serve. I think about some of the fun ways people have taught me about contribution. Now, some of you have heard me speak before. I've got friends in the room. It's so nice to be here with everybody, by the way. Isn't this a great moment? Can we take a second? Some of you will know exactly what I'm about to do. Can we take a second and just breathe into the fact that this is our opportunity? I mean, are we not so fortunate to be here in this room with these people experiencing this? John used to walk up to me at big events all the time and say, take a look around.
Jon?
Breathe this in, right?
Jon?
Yeah.
Kind of a moment for a front row.
Where are you?
Right? I know the lights are on.
Oh,
so
I was like, where's the voice? Yes, God. Speak to me.
Can we take this moment and have everyone face the camera and do a front row picture?
So to explain, our logo is, and you may know this, is this. So in many of our photographs, that's what people are doing. 2 arms, straight, 1 finger pointed to the sky. We're going to do a picture where? To the video camera?
Yeah, we'll do it. If everyone can come up here for a moment, and right in the middle, it's perfect timing. Cameras will be back there.
Let's do this. Bring it on up, everybody. Get close. And listen, if you're in the front, don't do this. Don't worry about the faces behind you. Full expression, right? And then everybody will just find a way to move your head in between the arms. Yeah, if you're in the front, you can kneel down. Heck, you could jump up on stage. Get a couple people up here. Jump up on stage.
There's room, a couple layers.
There's room. Jump up. Come on up. Oh, this will be great. Carrie Smolensky, the moment maker. All right, guys. Hands up, straight, pointed to the sky.
My proximity to the people, places, things, helping me believe in a dream that I see within me. You wanna know what I think? Take a deep breath, let it out and scream. I am the voice. Now I will lead. I'm gonna be who I wanna be. Sing like I wanna sing. Do what I wanna do. Move how I wanna move. Come on, dance, dance onto your music. Enjoy the journey.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Your dreams. Dance, dance.
And we'll return to Jon's talk in 20 seconds.
Imprint the memory in your psychology like technology. Hit Control C, copy and paste.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a recipe to achieve your dreams.
Give out 2 high fives wherever you are. Give out 2 high fives.
In the front row, I wanna hold my hand up high. I wanna let my light show. This is how I live my life. I wanna live in the front row.
Any Brother James fans in the room?
I wanna let my light show. This is how
Brother James.
I live my life.
He contributed his time and his talent to write that Front Row song, which, by the way, is on Spotify and iTunes, and it's a great message. I like to play that for my kids because I want those words, those affirmations, to be running in the background. So, thank you, Carrie. It's great to make a moment like that. That's perfect, right? That's perfect. I think about the fun ways that I've witnessed strangers make a difference in the world, contribute their gifts. And I was just mentioning that some of you have seen me speak before, but I'm curious, just a little survey from the audience. How many of you have heard me tell the story of the toll booth lady? Show of hands. How many have never heard me tell the story of the toll booth lady? And how many of you just never raise your hand no matter what I'm going to say? All right, it's the only time I get you. So, years ago, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, driving on a highway that I had driven on many times, about to pay a toll that I had paid many times, when I handed my $3 to the woman collecting money this day, and she was probably, in her 80s, leaned out of the window, normally never making eye contact. Normally the toll booth money collectors, it's tough to get a smile, right? And I understand that's a really tough job. But this woman, as she collected my money, she asked me, she said, "How are you doing today?" And my response, I thought was amazing. I looked at her and I said, "I'm excellent." And I was like, she's going to love that. And then she looked back at me and she pointed and she said, like I had just offended her somehow. She said, "No." And I just hung in there and I was like, what did I do? She said, "You are super fantastic." Just threw her hand up in the air and just smiled. That was it. The whole thing. That was the whole engagement, the whole interaction. And I went from being stunned to being lifted. And I was like, yes, I am. And that was it. We waved. I said goodbye. I drove down the road. But it was about a mile down the road, still smiling. I was like, that was incredible. Like, that was a moment. Still smiling. And then I was like, wait a minute. Does she do this to every single car? Or did I just draw greatness from this woman in that moment? My magnetism is hard to deny. I did that. It wasn't even her. I created that. No. It was probably everybody. But I didn't know that. I sort of guessed at that. And then I found out it was true. And the way I found out that was true, that she did this to every car, was I was in my living room. I was watching TV. And a McDonald's commercial was just finishing. And when the golden arches appeared on the screen at the end of the commercial, an 80-year-old woman popped up out of the golden arches and she said, "Try it. It's super fantastic." I was like, holy shit, that's the toll booth lady. And I remember standing in my living room and I was like pointing at the TV and I'm like, you did it. You're famous. You made a difference. It was almost like I was part. A lot of times I watch the videos on Facebook of other people making a difference, about Johnny the grocery bagger that puts notes in I see the videos and I'm like, all that goodness is occurring in some alternate universe that I'm not a part of. And then I realized, I was part of it. I saw the woman. I was part of that story. I was part of that moment, which became a movement. Right? Isn't that what happens in moments of giving? In our moments of giving, we create movements of meaning. I've never said that before. You should write that down. That's good. Who put that on Facebook? Hal, are you here? Right? That's what happens, though. This woman proved it. And I remember being affected by that. So much so that when I wrote the Front Row Factor book, which was looking at 100 plus front row recipients that we'd helped. And the question was, what can we learn about living life from people who are fighting for it? Right? Where was I going with that? Was there a point to that? I was so in the moment. I was thinking about all these recipients. I totally lost my place. Of meaning. Yeah, that's good. We'll just end with that. That was great. Why ruin a good thing? There was some reason I was talking about the book. Does anybody know what it was? I have no idea. Look at my note. Plug book. Done. No reason for it. Just that was it. Thank you. I think about people who've taught me about giving, like members of our dads community. So I'm privileged to be surrounded by a bunch of guys that we call ourselves front row dads. Dads that are engaged, dads that are stepping up. And in the room, we've got several front row dads. Justin Donald back there, John Izzy Israel, who you're going to hear from later. Amazing people in this room, that are part of this community. And this one guy, Brad Johnson. Brad takes his family to the grocery store. He knows the manager, it's their local store. And he takes his kids and they say to the manager, hey, let's collaborate. Pick somebody in the store today that a regular that is needing a little assistance in life right now. And I want to take care of their groceries. So we're going to give the cash to the person at the register. They're in on it. And then we're going to find that person and we're going to wait till they get into line to pay for their groceries. And I'm going to take my kids and we're going to stand behind them. And then when the person, the recipient, steps up and they have all their groceries being scanned at the end, they go to pay and the cashier will say, your groceries have been taken care of today. And my buddy Brad Johnson, who does this with his family regularly, this is like a tradition in their life. They talk about how meaningful that moment is to give. And when the person doesn't know who did it. Because what he also wants to teach his kids is the difference between contribution and significance. So I believe that contribution is I made a difference. Significance is I am the difference. Contribution is like throwing a pebble in a pond and the ripple carries out. Significance is a little like playing frisbee where it comes back to you and you get a chance to experience this boomerang effect, right? Significance is I want to feel like I made a difference in the world and I want the world to know that I made a difference. I want to feel recognized amongst my peers, and there's nothing wrong with that. Contribution in many ways is about giving to people that will never be able to repay you and knowing that that's okay, that nobody needs to know that you did that thing. And both are important. This isn't a talk about one being better than the other. It's about knowing that giving comes in different forms as well. And that one is fine for you to be able to give a gift to somebody and let them tell you how much they love. That's wonderful, isn't it? When you get that return praise, I love that. And there's also something very special about giving a gift that nobody will ever be able to repay you for. Both are key elements in your life. If you were to rate yourself in both of those right now on a 1 to 10 scale, where would you be? So in significance of feeling like you're making a difference in the world, like your importance in the world, how would you rate 1 to 10? How are you feeling in that category? And when it comes to contribution, oftentimes the gifts that you'll never be able to know the difference that you made, how do you feel about those moments where you're seeking no return, no return on your investment? other than the feeling of knowing that you did it. I remember Tony Robbins talking about contribution at an event years ago, and he would talk about what it was like to give and not expect anything in return, not do it so that you could get the praise, but that just to give. And I remember hours later, there was somebody on my team, and I was one of Tony's senior leaders, and I had a team of 25 people. And I remember that there was a picture that was taken, and then they were, with somebody on our team, they were selling the pictures on the table, and all the money was going to charity. So it was the type of thing where, everybody got a picture doing their fire walk, right? They were walking across the hot coals, and then if you bought the picture of you doing the fire walk, that the money would go to charity. And I was going to buy the picture for the person on the team. And I imagined buying it and then walking up and handing it to them and having them go, "Jon, you're the best," and then giving me a giant hug and telling me how awesome I was. I was like, that's all great. I had the whole vision in my head. And then I thought, wait, what if I gave the picture to somebody else on the team and asked them to deliver it to that person and not tell them who it came from? Now I've magnified my impact because now I'm involving somebody else in the surprise. Now they get a chance to witness that. Now they get a chance to be a part of it. And that's exactly what we did. And I understood the difference between significance and contribution. Both are equally important, but I think we had to have the distinction in our minds so that we can play it out. One says, I made the difference. One says, I am the difference. Now, that's enough of me talking. Now it's time for you to do a little thinking and a little writing and a little exploring of your own. In a moment, we're going to turn on some music. And here's what you're going to have the chance to do. So what I'm going to do is get you prepped first. Grab your journals, grab your pens, grab anything to write on. And, I want to challenge you also that sometimes I like to write on my computer and I like to take notes on my phone. There is a different feeling when you take notes or when you write in a journal. So I only invite you to consider the impact that one has over the other, right? And just know the feeling that you get in either of those experiences, whether it's your computer, your phone, or a notepad or a journal. So whatever it is, in a moment, I'm going to say go. You're going to take about 3 minutes, and I want you to explore your past. I want you to look back, whether that be last week, month, year, or over the last decades of your life, and I want you to consider what moments have you been a part of giving something to somebody else where there was a great reception of that or you felt that you made a difference. Think about moments where somebody gave to you a gift like the letter I talked about with my dad, or whether that be the gift of friendship, the gift of somebody listening to you, right? A surprise party. Somebody gave you a thoughtful gift that was engraved or personalized. Somebody gave you a gift that, others might not even consider a gift. The gift of love. We can explore whatever this means, right? The gift of their attention and their time, whatever it is. Think about all the acts of giving of your past, and think about the ones that you may have witnessed other people doing that you weren't even a part of, but it was just a beautiful act of giving. And think about the impact that made on the individuals and the giver and everyone included. And I just want you to think about those highlight moments. And after you're done journaling, I'm going to ask you and invite you to share that with somebody else in the room. That I'm going to ask you to share 1 or 2 or maybe even more of those moments of giving. Because here's what happens, and this may have already been said because we are a community, many of us in this room. There's new members of the community. There's members of the community that have known each other for years. By the way, welcome to all the new members of this community. It's really cool to have you here. I love to see the family grow. But so many of you may have heard this before, but it's like when you share with a partner, when you share your story, your partner has an opportunity to now learn from the wisdom of your story. They can replicate that story in their own lives. Or it might even help them to remember a story that they once forgot that was similar to yours, right? That we can borrow those images and those feelings, and that we can bring them into our current existence and magnify it, and we can amplify it moving forward. So that's the reason that we're doing this. And oftentimes when we reflect back and we remember those moments of love and gratitude and contribution, our bodies are flooded with all the benefits of it happening as if it just happened, meaning as if it were, we don't even know the difference of whether or not we're remembering it or it's happening in real time. We get the same chemical response, we get the same emotional benefits, and this has a massive impact on your health. Alex Hayden, you would love that, right? This affects our health. It's great science behind what we're doing also. So you're going to have 3 minutes to write. Think about all the moments of giving, those that you gave away, those that others gave to you. And if you need any help with thinking about what this all means for you in your world, just raise your hand. I'll come around and I'll help you out. Are we ready to get together with a partner in just a moment, that you can just begin by saying, hey, whoever goes first, just tell me one of your stories of giving. And then maybe take about a minute and a half for your story, 2 minutes for your story. We'll take about 5 minutes total and try to alternate back and forth, your story, my story. Listen, and if you get through one story, it's perfect, right? If you get through more than one story, fantastic. Whatever happens is absolutely perfect. It's happening exactly as it should, right? In the moment, the way it's supposed to happen. And Trent's doing a great job, by the way, of facilitating, getting people to meet new individuals, walking around. Let's give Trent a round of applause. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm going to invite you to consider either of those. You can meet with the person next to you, or if you feel like you want to explore the room and meet with somebody else, that's great. Why don't we get into groups of 2, though, so that you can have an opportunity to both get time to share. So definitely get into groups of 2. Go ahead and begin your sharing now, or walk around and find somebody. Hey, you got 5 minutes. Go ahead and begin now. Do we have the cubes to be able to share for some Q&A? Can we get the cubes? I would love to ask the audience, I would love to ask the Summit family here to share. If you had a story that you either heard and you wanted to acknowledge somebody, you wanted to share one of your own, awesome. And who else had a story, before we go to Matt, who else had a story, by the way, that they wanted to share? Just curious, wanted to see. So we'll go here, here, and then maybe to B if we have time. We'll see. I think we can squeeze that in. Okay, maybe JK. All right, we'll do everybody. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so this share is also a thank you to Jon for a thank you he gave me that I don't think I ever acknowledged. But personally, I am a fan of only giving practical gifts that can be used over and over again, gifts that will add a lot of impact to your life, not things that are one-time use or just silly, like, oh, I got you something silly. This past Christmas, or around the end of last year, the Vroman family put their son Tiger in an outdoor program called Fire Scouts, and they just never got around to getting him a tent. They kept borrowing one of mine. And for Christmas, I got
Smart
Tiger.
Move.
Yeah, totally smart move. Borrowing things is great. You don't need to fill up your house with stuff. But I bought Tiger a tent for Christmas. And a few weeks later, when they went and used it, they sent me, Jon and Tiger sent me like a really nice thank you video that I apologize I never acknowledged because I was in the middle of something and didn't get a chance to do it. But this gift that I was able to give them was something that, for me personally, being outdoors is a huge value that I was able to share with Jon and Tiger. Jon was able to teach Tiger a great skill, helping to keep him outdoors. And it just feels good to be able to impact some close friends' lives in a way that, fulfills my own personal values. So thanks, Jon.
Let's give Matt a 2 clap on 2. 1, 2. Nice. Right here.
Hi, I'm Michelle Krause, and
make sure to hold those close to you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Krause.
For everybody, I know it covers your face, but we need to hear you.
The one thing I wanted to say was when I was 13 and I had a b'nai mitzvah, which is, for those who aren't Jewish, it's the b'nai is boy and girl. I'm a twin. Anyway, for our centerpieces, we had teddy bears, boy and girl teddy bears, and we decided that obviously ahead of time, that we were going to donate them to the Children's Hospital in Chicago. That we felt like, what's the point of just having whatever kind of centerpiece that's just going to go away versus having something that you can give to someone. So unfortunately, I don't have the recollection of what happened after that. Did I do any of the delivery, or I don't have that recollection, but I remember the initial part, and it left an impact on me. And I feel like throughout my life I have done a lot of, or I live to give to other people, not necessarily money-wise, but of my heart and my time.
Let's give a 2 snap on 2. 1, 2. Well done. Were you up next, Devin? B? Devin? Yeah, go ahead, take it. You good.
Okay, I had the pleasure to work with these two lovely ladies right here, Lori, and Keely, and there was a common theme that emerged from their giving. Lori became part of a foundation dealing with lung cancer victims and raising money for research. But there's such a stigma attached to lung cancer and that it's dealing with smoking and things like that not much people are involved. But she has watched that foundation grow over a period from since 2003, around 2003. And now they actually have employees where they had no employees, which is a great thing. Keely and her son, 15 years old, they do almost like the grocery store thing, but sometimes at the restaurant. So when they see someone, like particularly an older couple, enjoying dinner, they pay it forward by taking care of their check. But the common theme was the feeling that they both experience from giving, of helping people, that feeling of that there is goodness in the world still, especially when you're able to pay something forward, like what people do at the toll plazas, pay the next car. If the next 100 cars were to pay the toll, what that does, that feeling of knowing that there's still goodness in the world.
Let's give a 2 clap, followed by a 2 snap on 2. 1, 2. Well,
John.
Yeah.
Actually, John Kane right here.
Okay.
Thanks, Carrie. It's great to be here with everyone. What a wonderful couple days. It's interesting as we're talking about giving, how so many times we equate that with giving a thing or financial gift. And Jesse just shared something with me, and I'm glad he was okay with me sharing it. He shared a time in his early 20s when he was going through a really difficult time and going through some serious struggles and was really worried about a huge event upcoming in his life, a lot of stress. And he talked about how a group of men came together and just prayed for him, and simply on a weekly, consistent basis just kept drawing him in and holding space for him with prayer. And he talked about how that went on for a year, and that from his experience, he had not been fortunate to have a great relationship with his father. He lost his father at a young age, hadn't spent a lot of time with him, that this group of people came together, and in a difficult time, a group of strangers just prayed over him. And he shared that the outcome was the thing he was really worried about. It didn't happen. It didn't materialize. And I just think about that so many times. If we can just hold a space for somebody or hold a moment to just let people know that we care, it doesn't cost anything, and to pause. And so, John, I want to share with you that I think it's by God's grace that I have a lot of good people in my life, and I would just say, praise God from whom all blessings flow. And I think for me, when you see people show up, that's just a reflection of that gift. I know everybody approaches their life and their faith differently, but I think regardless of what your faith is, we can all hold space and pray for each other and be with each other. And I think, Jesse, that was a great gift that you gave today in sharing your story to me, so thank you.
That's appropriate. Thanks, JK. Last? Yeah,
All
last
right.
one.
Yo. Okay. So, although it would be totally cool to acknowledge my partner, I'm going to share something that I realized of a gift that I've given, which came out of this answering this question, like we have some really interesting things that we're facing at this time in terms of like living healthily in the future, and what happens if like there's some kind of collapse, and like what are we going to do? deal with the challenges that we're facing. So I saw that we needed community, connection. What if we could grow food together, plant gardens, learn how to take care of each other, and instead of just having like a party where we all get together and hang out and have a few drinks or whatever, what if we actually had parties where we planted gardens in people's front and backyards and had music and food? So came up with this concept called the Grow Food Party Crew. And so what we were doing was giving gifts of gardens to people and giving them the gift of community and collaboration. And then I realized at another level that I was also giving a gift of learning that we could just give and that pay it forward and then ripple in the world. And what was interesting about that is I started to try to monetize that at one point because I was getting burned out in my giving, and then I realized that's why that never worked out, was because it just had to have the spirit of giving behind it. That was the essence of the Grow Food Party Crew. So thank you, John, for asking these questions so I could reflect on that and learn and see myself doing that.
Let's give a 2 clap, followed by a 2 snap, followed by a whoop whoop on 3. 1, 2, 3. God, they got it.
Nicely done.
I know there's other hands, and I know you've got shares, and I'm out of time, so I'm sorry that we can't continue. But I encourage you to keep asking amongst yourselves over lunches and throughout the day, hey, what was one of your stories of giving? Hey, I'm curious, what was a moment for you where somebody gave a gift or you witnessed something or you felt something that I'm curious. I'd like to know about that. And let them have that chance to share that story if they didn't get a chance to raise their hand here. My invite to you as you move forward throughout the day and throughout your lives, my good friend Jon Vroman, who's a founding member of Front Row Foundation and one of my best friends, has said, don't give until it hurts, just give until it feels good. And I invite you to consider that you are not here for everyone, but you are here for someone. So give your gifts to the world. Thanks, everybody. Take care.